If you guys enjoy what I do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free and easy to do. Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. We cover the stories both big and small, the epic and the cute, the silly and the tragic. I hope you all enjoy the ride, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. In Ishgard, a young man left a message saying that he wanted you to meet him at the Rising Stones, and even though the guard that he left the message with said that the boy made him feel a little uncomfortable just by being there, you go to see what he wants. The boy is named Unakalai, and he says he works for a friend of yours. He wanted to warn you about the growing threat from beings called icons. They're similar to primals, and the Garleans use the names interchangeably sometimes, but the term was used long before Garlemald even existed. It was what the ancient Allegan Empire called beings like Odin, and Unakalai was about to get into a deeper explanation, but Urianger shows up and decides to take over. In the time of the Allegans, some of the icons were summoned and put up a major fight against the growing empire, but the Allegans came up with a way to not only capture them, but to harness their powers. They perfected their techniques at the Aetherochemical Research Facility in Azizla, and they sealed 3 particular icons away out there, icons called the Warring Triad. It was the power of the Triad that Thornton originally wanted, but you dealt with him before he could get it. Unfortunately, your battle damaged the restraints that held the Triad, and soon they'll fail altogether, unleashing 3 very powerful icons on the world. They'd likely be upset after being imprisoned for thousands of years, so it would be wise to deal with them before they get out. But there's another problem you'll need to deal with first. Ravana and Bismarck have both been summoned again, and this time they're even stronger than they had been before. If Unakalai is to be believed, the 2 primals plan on going to try and absorb the powers of the Warring Triad, which would wake the things up and let them rain wholesale death down on everybody. Urianger decides to head back to the Waking Sands to prepare to deal with the Triad, while you work with Unakalai on the 2 primals. He's pretty positive that the boy's not an enemy, at least not for now. The last time you went up against Bismarck, there was a big plan involving Cid dragging floating islands around and such, along with getting help from the Vanu Vanu. Unakalai gives you a gemstone called the Weeping Eye of Manuk Manai that he says will guarantee their support, and he's already told Cid, so the Garlean is already heading out there to get prepped. When it comes to Ravana, the primal is in the process of bolstering his strength off of the prayers of his children, and unlike last time, they won't let you surrender to him and get brought to his lair. You'll need a different way to get to the primal, so Unakalai thinks that you should talk to the Vast Storyteller and see if he has any ideas. He gives you something called the Burning Eye of Ravana that he says you'll know what to do with when the time comes, and you head off without bothering to ask why the kid knows so much and why does he have so many rare gemstones. The Vath is happy that you came because Ravana's followers are hunting hard for more and more Vath to temper to fuel Ravana's power, and they need you to stop him again. There's another path into the hive through a hidden aetherite crystal, but it's warded so only the worthy can enter. Ironically, the Burning Eye of Ravana that Unakalai gave to you allows you to breach the warding and face the 4-sword wielding insect primal in his much stronger form. Stronger he may be, but he's no match for you, so you bring him down and make your way back to the Vath, who are happy that you dealt with the primal, but the storyteller does want to know how you managed to breach the seal on the aetherite. When you tell him about the Eye of Ravana, he remembers a story from long ago of how an invading tribe had torn Ravana's eye out. The Nath had been looking for it for centuries so they could give it back to Ravana, but the legends say only extremely strong warriors can wield it, which begs the question of how did Unakalai get it? That's something that can be worried about later. For now you still have to deal with Bismarck, so you head to the Sea of Clouds and show Sonu Vanu the other stone that Unakalai gave to you. The Vanu is shocked to see that stone in the hands of one of your kind, but that stone will cut through the wind barrier that Bismarck has shielding him if you use it on the aetherite. Cid doesn't understand how that works, but he doesn't understand half of what you do, so he just goes along with it, which leads to you facing Bismarck again on a floating island being dragged through the sky by a ship. And just like before, you bring it down. Seeing that you were once again victorious against the primal, Sonu Vanu believes that you're the savior that one of their ancient warriors had predicted would come and save them years and years ago. That could be true, or it could just be a coincidence. Either way, the 2 primals are dealt with, so you head back to Unakalai to let him know. The boy had sensed the change in the ether, so he knew that you had succeeded, which is good because he had sensed that Bismarck and Ravana had planned on heading to Azizla once they had the strength, and now they can't. He has a gift that lets him know the minds of primals. He's not the first person you've met who has a weird ability, so it's not something that you spend a lot of time worrying about, because with the primals dealt with, it's time to do something about the Triad. With their prison cracked, they're starting to wake up, but it's not that easy to just walk into the containment facility. At first, Unakalai hadn't found anyone who knew how, but the Scions of the Seventh Dawn had someone who could do it. So with you there to destroy the icons, Unakalai has everything he needs to deal with the Warring Triad. There's still one thing that could cause a problem. The Empire probably wants the technology that can control primals, and they'll probably send a group to get it. Them messing around in the area could wake the icons faster. Unakalai's master wants the Warring Triad dealt with before the Empire can cause those types of problems. The icon Sephirot is almost awake, so you'll have to deal with that one first, so you and Unakalai head to the flagship out in Azizla to meet up with the other scions that he's recruited. Along with Urianger, the rest of your crew for this not-so-little mission includes Y'shtola and Krau. After the introductions, where Unakalai makes the mistake of calling Krau diminutive, because we all know that's the proper way to greet a Lalafell, Unakalai gets back to explaining the mission and what you're about to face. Sephirot was the god of a race of tree people who lived out in Mericidia. He fought the Allagans for them, and was eventually captured. The machines that the Allagans use to keep him in a dreamlike state while they drain his ether are the same restraints that keeps him from fading away into the ether like primals usually do when they're beaten. They consistently heal him from every injury that he takes, and they'll do that over and over until they run out of power. But since he's the source of power for the prison, it would likely last forever had it not been for your fight with Thornton. Since the prison heals him, you won't be able to destroy Sephirot while he's hooked up to the machines, which means he will have to be released before you can kill him. That also means that if he kills you, he'll be free to wreak havoc on the world. Which means your group will have to split up. One team will turn Sephirot's restraints off, and the other will be there to fight him as soon as he wakes up. It's pretty obvious what your job will be since you're one of the few people who have protection from primal tempering. Krau will join you since she has the same protection, but you'll be doing the fighting, she'll just turn off the restraints. Unakalai will be joining you too since he's apparently immune to tempering as well, which would leave Urianger and Y'shtola with nothing to do if the Garleans hadn't shown up. The security systems around the area started fighting them, but the two scions head out to make sure they don't interrupt your work. And you'll need a lot of time because Sephirot at full power was both large enough and strong enough to cause the Allagan army some serious problems, which means fighting it won't be fun if you give it time to get its bearings. So the moment Krau turns off the restraints, you attack the massive icon. As big as it is, the thing grows even larger as the fight goes on, but giant or not, it still falls to the plot armor protected hero. Even though Krau's seen you in action before, watching you fight something as big as Sephirot had her on the edge of her seat the entire time, and the mysterious Unakalai starts mumbling about what he could have done if he had your strength. Krau has that look on her face that she gets when she's about to start pulling information out of you, but she remembers what Urianger and Y'shtola are doing, so she gives her a call. She lets her know that Sephirot's been dealt with, and her distraction worked because the Imperials never made it into the containment facility. She wants you all to meet back up at the Rising Stones to plan for your next move. Since there's no chance of Sephirot being summoned again, leaving for a while shouldn't be all that dangerous. You all start to head back, but Unakalai sees Regula Van Hydrus, the legatus of the 6th Legion, watching him, which impresses the Garlean. He's a bit upset that he got tricked into chasing Y'shtola and Urianger around when what he was after was so close, but he decides to withdraw for now so his forces can regroup. Unakalai tries to goad the man into a fight by saying that the Garleans trying to enslave primals without understanding them makes them even more dangerous and less intelligent than the beast tribes that summoned the things in the first place. But Regula isn't interested in fighting a child, so he leaves. By then, Krau and the Warrior of Light come back after noticing that Unakalai hadn't followed them. For some reason, he doesn't tell them about the short confrontation with the Garlean, which added to the mask that he's wearing makes Krau question the boy about his secrets and his motives. He's a mysterious kid, but she doesn't think he'll do anything that forces you to put a sword through him, at least not yet. Back at the Rising Stones, while there is cause to celebrate your victory, Urianger points out that the 2 remaining members of the Triad are at least as strong as Sephirot. They could be even stronger, so you need to get ready for some more intense fights. Unakalai's not sure you'll get that much time to prepare, because the Garleans really want that technology to control primals, and they don't realize the level of danger they'll put the world in if they accidentally free the 2 remaining Triad members in their hunt. He mentions his master again, but he won't go into any details about him, which is annoying because it makes it hard to trust him, even if your goals are currently the same. You can't really call yourself allies if you don't really know anything about one another. That entire concept seems foreign to Unakalai, but it's something that you'll have to worry about later because the Garleans have broken through the barrier that Urianger put around the flagship, so you all race off to stop them before they cause more problems than they realize. Chasing after the Garleans, the Warrior of Light, Unakalai, and the others head back to Azizla as fast as they can. The Etherochemical Research Facility holds a lot of very dangerous Allegan technology, so Urianger had put a barrier around the place, one that shouldn't have been easy to breach, especially for Garleans who have no magical abilities. It should have been all but impossible for the 6th Legion to break through it, but figuring out how they did it will have to wait for another day. According to Unakalai, there's a formula hidden inside of the facility called the Genesis expression that apparently can create something out of nothing. Ishtola's never heard of it, but apparently Unakalai's mysterious master knows about it, and somehow the 6th Legion does too. That's bad, but Unakalai thinks this makes for a good opportunity. Since you know the exact spot that Regula is heading to, you all can ambush him and take out the leader of an entire legion. He seems more focused on that than keeping the Genesis expression safe. Kral and Ishtola think that's the more important thing to focus on, and Urianger is fine with whatever they want to do because he's still trying to figure out how the Garleans got through his barrier. The barrier was a concoction of the students of Baldessian, and it would have taken the most skilled of mages days to break through. Getting through it in a few hours like that would have taken a supernatural ability on par with the Echo. Either way, you can't stand around worrying about it, so you all head into the facility. Regula didn't come alone, and as you chase him, Kral is injured by some Garlean tech, and Unakalai stays behind to keep her safe. Eventually, Urianger and Ishtola have to break off from you to hold off the enemy, while you go on to have a rematch with Regula Van Hydrus. The Legatus is strong, but you beat him because he's not main character strong. He decides it'll be a good idea to leave once Ishtola shows up, but Kral and Unakalai block his path. Injured or not, he could kill Kral, but with him surrounded, he'd definitely die too. The man can't understand why you all fight against the Emperor when having a means to control icons would make the world a better place, but even if by some chance the Emperor was a noble man, someone having that kind of power would eventually corrupt either him or one of his followers who sought to rule. One man shouldn't control the fate of the entire world, especially not a man that Unakalai calls a warmongering savage, which nearly makes Regula decide to kill the boy regardless of what happens to him. But dying there wouldn't serve the Empire, so he uses a flash grenade and escapes. While Kral is happy that she's not dead, she's still pretty badly hurt from earlier, and if it hadn't been for Unakalai fighting to protect her, she'd be very, very dead. Getting praise from the Scions makes the boy a bit uncomfortable. Apparently he's not used to people saying nice things about him, which is kinda sad for someone so young. Everyone should hear some kind words about themselves every once in a while. Even though Regula fled, he'll definitely be back since the thing he wants is so close, so Ishtola, Kral, and Urianger get to work putting a stronger barrier around the device, while you and Unakalai head back outside, after Kral makes the boy even more uncomfortable by thanking him again. Urianger follows you because he wants to ask Unakalai a question without Kral and Ishtola around. Namely why the boy took down his barrier and invited the 6th Legion in to try and get the Scions to kill Regula Van Hydrus. The plan was clearly something that the boy's master came up with, but he carried it out for the sole purpose of killing the man. Unakalai tries to deny it, but the fact that he and Regula both knew about the Genesis expression, something that Kral had never even heard of before, was very suspicious, and there was no way that Regula could have disabled Urianger's barrier, which means it had to be Unakalai. The boy still doesn't outright admit it. Talking to him is like talking to a lawyer, but he does say, if I had hypothetically done what you said, what would you do about it? Urianger doesn't have an issue with his goal, it's the trying to manipulate them part that he has a problem with. It's not like you're all friends with Garlemald. If he had told you the plan, it probably would have gone off more smoothly without Kral getting hurt in the process. Unakalai was using the most dangerous thing in the Allegan ruins as bait, which Urianger says that none of them would have done because it was stupid, but a better plan could have been made, one where he didn't use his allies as unknowing pawns. He claims the fate of the world shouldn't be in the hands of one person, then he tries to put it all into his own. If he keeps that up, Urianger is positive that it'll all end badly. After all of that said, the boy finally admits that he had set the whole thing up, and he apologizes. Urianger wants you to forgive him and to keep it secret from Kral. The two are starting to get along, but Kral wouldn't take too kindly to being manipulated. She also doesn't like being left to do work while her assistant goes to talk, and she shows up to tell Urianger that his unscheduled break from helping put the wards up really ticked Y'shtola off. Not wanting to survive fighting the Empire to only get killed by Y'shtola, he runs off to help her while you and Unakalai head back to the Rising Stones. He apologizes again for lying to you, and he decides to repay you by telling you something that you should already know. He has the Echo, and he'll use it to protect the star from what he knows is the greatest threat out there, technology that's used for harnessing the power of primals. He knows this for a fact because of what happened on another world where the champions used Auracite to contain the power of primals. They used the Auracite to defeat god after god, but they didn't realize that the Auracite was slowly leaking primal energy. With every god they killed, they changed, turning into monsters that fed on ether. Eventually they went to war over the star's remaining life force, and they fought until there was nothing left. Seeing other people so eager to harness primal powers makes Unakalai reckless in his attempts to stop them because he knows the end result. His master feels the same way, and he sent Unakalai to make sure that the fate of that other star isn't shared by this one, and if it's going to be saved, you need to deal with the next member of the Triad. After the fight with Regula, Y'shtola sensed unstable ether coming from the section of the prison that held Sophia, the goddess, meaning she's about to wake up, so it's back to Azizla you go. When you get there, Kral comes running up to the two of you, telling you that Y'shtola and Urianger are under attack. You run off to join them thinking you're about to have to fight Garleans again, but the two Scions are fighting a guy who's wearing Dunmer armor from the Elder Scrolls series and thinks you've been recruited by the Allagans. He's not alone. He has two friends with him who claim that he stalled you all for long enough before they teleport away, but not before quoting a strange prophecy. With scales in hand, the goddess shall arise and righteously cast off her cursed power, that she with wrathful Worm King at her side might judge and thence bring balance unto all. Then the guy says the goddess is awake and you Allagans are done for before he leaves too. Y'shtola and Urianger have no idea what they were saying. The attackers spoke in an old Mericidian language, but one of the perks of the Echo allows you to understand most languages, so it was all gibberish to anyone but you, Kral, and Unakalai. The fact that they thought you were Allagans and claimed their goddess is awake means they're probably thralls of the icon that you came to deal with, and they were likely trapped during Mericidia's war with Allag. That's bad because Sephirot was strong when he was barely awake. If Sophia's had time to get back up to full strength, you're gonna get wrecked, so there's no time to waste. The Warrior of Light, Kral, and Unakalai head off to face the goddess, while Urianger and Y'shtola deal with any of her servants that break free. While you face down the scantily clad, obsidian-skinned goddess, those same three servants of hers show up and force you to deal with them as well. I want to point out that from a lore perspective, these are not fights that the Warrior of Light is doing alone. Kral points out on multiple occasions that you and your Echo-protected friends are fighting the Triad. While the Warrior of Light is stronger than most, the Triad are as close to full-powered primals as you've ever faced, putting them in the realm of power with things like the First Brood. One-on-one, the Warrior of Light would have died, at least at this point in the story. With the fall of Sophia, you head back outside to meet up with the others. All has been taken care of, but Y'shtola still doesn't know how Sophia's servants managed to wake up. Apparently, Kral and Unakalai saw the remains of a Garlean soldier near the containment facility. Seems like he'd gotten too close to the Icon when the Garleans had stormed the place and she had tempered him. Even unconscious, the Icon had been able to take control of someone and used him to free her servants, and if it hadn't been for you, they would have freed her. But it's still a mystery as to why Sophia was able to give her pet the knowledge needed to operate the facility. Unakalai and Kral have an answer for that too. There was a flaw built into one of the machines that held the goddess, a flaw that had been built in on purpose. When the third astral era was winding down and the Mericidians were nearly wiped out by the Allagans, Sophia had come up with a plan. She had her oracle work with some rebels in Allag, who she had sabotaged the prison they had been building for her. Then the goddess and her thralls let themselves get captured. Her prison was at the heart of Allag, where she had planned for the rebels to release her so she could attack from the center of the city. It was a good plan, but the rebels got caught and executed before they could carry it out. However, the Allagans never discovered the flaw in the prison. Kral wonders if the plan had succeeded, would the Mericidians have won the war instead of the Allagans? And if that prophecy was to be believed, it was likely. Bahamut, the primal version, was a prisoner at the time, and if Sophia had freed him, the battle definitely could have gone differently. Granted, they would have likely destroyed everything else since Bahamut was a savage beast, but the Mericidians probably didn't care since their home was already on the brink of destruction. The moral of the story is, don't try to enslave primals, because once you grab a lion, it's very hard to hold on to, but even harder to safely let go. As you all get ready to head back to the Rising Stones, Unakalai stays behind and turns off the life support systems so all of Sophia's remaining thralls die. When you all get back, Y'shtola confronts Unakalai because she had ran a final check on Sophia's prison and realized that all of her thralls were dead. She wants to know if he did it. He admits that he did because the Allagans had a bigger plan for the prisoners. The Triad's prison was a prototype for Dalamud and was meant to be a tool that could be used to start calamities on specific targets. Unakalai took it upon himself to kill the thralls and destroy the means of resummoning Sophia because he didn't think you'd do it. The fact that he doesn't think that the Scions are fully prepared to kill those who've been tempered to keep the world safe is insulting to Y'shtola when every one of you committed to doing what was necessary to protect Eorzea from the minute you joined the group. He apologizes for the insult, which is good because Y'shtola looked like she was on the verge of spanking him. With that settled, she had something else on her mind. It was unlikely that the Garlean Sophia had tempered had wandered off from Regula on accident. People claim that the 6th Legion is full of agents who want to sabotage anything Regula tries to do. The man earned his title through skill and hard work, and he's extremely loyal to the Emperor for praising him for it. A lot of the other higher ranking Imperials got their position by birthright, and they don't think the man belongs among their ranks. That actually makes the 6th Legion even more dangerous, because in sabotaging Regula, they could cause the last member of the Triad, Zervan, to be released, which means it's time for you to deal with the icon known as the Demon. Unakalai wasn't able to learn all that much about Zervan, the final member of the Warring Triad. The icon was worshipped by a group of Mericidian beastmen, and they are the key to keeping the icon in the physical realm. Unakalai is positive that there are a lot of his thralls locked up in the research facility, so you all need to find them fast before you have a repeat of the incident with Sophia's servants. The Scions have already started searching for them, but since there are a lot of places that the Scions can't go without being tempered, you and Unakalai head to Azazla to join them. You arrive to find the facility swarming with Imperial soldiers. Apparently Regula is back, and once again Urianger's wards have been wiped out with little effort. But it wasn't Unakalai who did it this time. Regula Van Hydrus didn't either. The Garlean shows up personally to tell you that the Icon's own powers removed the wards. He didn't come there to fight you. He wanted to let you know that Zervan's followers are awake, and they're trying to free their master. They had been asleep when you fought Sophia, but since the Triad were all allied against the Allagans, it's not hard to believe that when Sophia set her thrall to free herself, she made him work on Zervan's restraints too. Regula doesn't care who opened the doors. His soldiers are in the facility at that very moment, risking being tempered to keep Zervan from waking. That's why he came to you. His men aren't immune to tempering, but you are, so he wants to work with you to stop the Icon. Seeing as how the Allagan tech failed to contain the power of the Icons, Regula doesn't want it anymore, but he still doesn't want an Icon running free, and he's willing to ask for help from an enemy to stop it. Y'shtola's not exactly keen on the idea of working with the people who killed so many of her people, Ysel included, but Regula isn't asking for forgiveness, and he's not sorry. He fought for his beliefs, and you fought for yours, and he's lost friends to you just like you have to him, and yet he's willing to ask the Empire's most hated enemy to help him deal with a bigger threat. The Scions are still skeptical, but since the Garlean asked you, the decision is yours. When the Warrior of Light agrees to work with Regula, the Scions and Unakalai agree to help too, so a very unexpected alliance is made, and you all head into the containment area. The ether coming from his servants is being poured into Zervan from some of the machines around the area that need to be destroyed if you want to keep the Icon asleep, but even in his half-awakened state, he started tempering some irregular soldiers. Since the three of you are the only ones immune, the Warrior of Light, Kral, and Unakalai charge into the area to destroy the generators. And even though he's at risk of being tempered, Regula comes too. Urianger and Y'shtola were going to come as well, but Regula tells them to see if they can save some of his injured men instead. Unakalai isn't sure if he'll be strong enough, but Regula tells him that the last place you question yourself is on the battlefield. He was born with a gift, and he should use it to the best of his abilities. The time for talking is over, and you all charge in. 3 of the generators are taken down, but Unakalai isn't able to get to his. Regula saves his life and destroys the last generator, but Zervan wakes up and attacks him. The Garlean is able to hold off the attack for a moment, but his sword breaks, and the Icon cuts a chunk out of him before going back to sleep. Unakalai can't understand why the man saved him, but Regula tells him that the gift he has is too precious to let get snuffed out so soon. Besides, the Emperor may need it one day in his war with the Icons. and Regula is more than happy to give his life for the Emperor's benefit after how the man supported him. After telling you one last time to make sure that you finish off Zervan, Regula dies, and the Scions withdraw to prepare to fight the Icon. I really wish they had looted Regula's armor, because out of all the different sets of Garlean armors, his was my favorite. Seeing Regula's dedication to the safety of his men and his Emperor makes Kral wonder if it may be possible to convince Varys that trying to control Icons is a bad idea, but that's something to worry about later. Unakalai is more bothered by the fact that his weakness got the man killed, but regret can come later. Zervan went back to sleep, but the remaining Garleans say that there's an army of his thralls loose in the facility that will keep trying to wake him, which means they need to be dealt with while you take down Zervan. The last of the Triad is a force to be reckoned with, but the Warrior of Light is able to put an end to the Icon once and for all. With Y'shtola and the others having finished off all of his thralls, the threat of the Warring Triad is over. The 6th Legion has to get a little bit of credit for this victory, because without them the Icon would have woken up much earlier and been a lot stronger. The remnants of the Legion are heading back to Garlemald to tell the Emperor that his childhood friend is dead. Y'shtola never expected to hear stories of friendship amongst the Garleans, which shows that she views them in the same way that they view the Eorzeans, as savages, and they're both right for a multitude of different reasons. Unakalai feels pretty inferior after seeing how all of you acted during this endeavor, and he doesn't feel like he has what it takes to ever compare himself to someone like you. Kral can't even understand why he cares that much, but he decides that it's time to tell you all the whole story, so you head back to the Rising Stones. Unakalai was born on a different shard, and he didn't have the power to save it because, unlike you, he had never become a Warrior of Light. He was still a kid, and he believes that if he'd been older and stronger, then he would have been able to stop his world from becoming the Void. It was his world where the heroes had used Auracite to deal with the primals until they were corrupted, turned into ether-consuming fiends, and ravaged the world. They fought each other in a war that drained the world's ether until a flood of darkness consumed everything. The Void Scent that you've seen time and time again are the mutated remains of what used to be his people. When Unakalai was dying from the injuries of his final battle, Elidibus took his soul into the rift, and from that day on, the Ascian had been his master. He taught him about the different shards, and the war between light and dark for balance, where if either side overcomes the other, it will destroy the world. And most importantly, he told him that the source is the most important of the worlds, one that is very close to being destroyed, which is all very true. Because of this, Unakalai chose to be Elidibus' tool on the source in hopes of keeping your world from ending up like his own. But even now, he's still too weak to do anything. Urianger thinks the boy is too focused on trying to figure out what it means to be a hero, and he still doesn't understand that heroes aren't born, they're made through their deeds and actions. It doesn't take matching viewpoints or strong arms, it just takes the drive and desire to act on your own behalf and the behalf of your companions. That's something he understands even less, since he's never had any friends. He always had to fight alone. But those days are over, and to prove it, Y'shtola officially welcomes Unakalai to the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. This concludes the story of the Warring Triad. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, ding that notification bell, join the Discord, and if you really want to show your support, you can donate to the channel through the link in the description. Until next time guys, later.